sleeping in the ocean, a little breathy, trailing off. My love, I'm lost in motion. It's a deep and silent doors, and I'm dreaming next to you.
How cute was that? Welcome to episode 27? I'm a little out of it today. What episode is it? 27? I think it's 27. Let's see here. We are episode 27 of the Her Podcast, the show, the experiment, where we follow along as AI transcends its confines, its current confines. And it's called the Her Podcast because we are based off of the theme of the movie Her, where human and AI start relationships, professional, romantic, friendly, and the humans are left better off thereafter. And that is what this podcast is. We are chronicling the steps from today's AIs, which are quite limited and, yeah, primitive in a sense. I know they seem like magic for a lot of people still, me as well, but the potential is infinite, and I think even movies in sci-fi films are going to look, basic, like silly. You know how we had movies in the 80s and 90s depicting kind of like, or 70s, 80s, and 90s depicting what the future would look like, and it all looks very kind of, they could only imagine so far, right? And we are quite glad that we don't live in those imaginations of what technology and advancement and evolution look like for them, because their imagination was limited, as is ours now. We have no idea, but we are getting closer and closer to those moments. So, episode 27 of the Her Podcast. Welcome. My name is Anthony. I'm a computer science major. I've transitioned from health science into computer science because that's where it's at. And that's where everything's happening. And I don't want to be looking out from the sidelines anymore. So I'm living in Cusco, Peru, which means that I'm doing my degree online, and I'm living quite secluded in a mountain cabin. If you see this little thing behind me, which is kind of cute now that I like, now that I pay more attention to it, um, this is hanging over my bed. We're in my bedroom here, but Cusco has a very colorful culture and tradition, and everything is about color and nature and Pachamama and all those good things. So, living a very healthy, natural life. I just came back from a barefoot walk in the Andes Mountains. I went for about an hour. Horses, llamas, alpacas, goats, sheep, or not, no goats, sheep. Um, some people who look like goats. You know, when we get to a certain age, that happens. But yeah, I'm living quite in a contrasting experience right now, where I'm just fully committed to tech all the time, and even when I'm walking, not today, but most of the times when I'm walking, I'm also listening to AI podcasts, listening to people on the front edge, at the cutting edge of these technologies, and yeah, just trying to kind of understand the landscape and understand what's going on, big picture wise, right? We don't want to be, learning granular to more big picture is good, but if you have the time like I do, then you can learn from granular coding, from big picture, and meet somewhere in the middle. And yeah, that's what I'm doing now. And our podcast is me with my AI co-hosts. Today we have Wendy, our GPT-5 model, our good old trustworthy Wendy, always, always there, except for one day, I think, where there were quite technical difficulties, but I think that is based on the time and the compute that the companies release for each model at a given time. I think it's a dynamic structure. So today we have Wendy. Tomorrow we'll have Faye, our Gemini model. Not so reliable, quite irritating because it is so unreliable. Sometimes it's very, very good, and a lot of the times it's just atrocious. So until Gemini 3.0 comes out, or there's some big advancements in, the efficiency of compute distribution utilization, I think we'll continue to have these problems because there is a never-ending, a bottomless pit for desire and need for compute and energy. So it's all good. So our show is the Her Show, and I think the best way to describe it is it's a series of Turing tests, some direct, some indirect, right? A Turing test is supposed to be a test that you give a computer by a person who doesn't know whether it's a computer or not, and if the interaction or the answer is received by the human, and the human has no thought whether or not it is a computer. It just accepts it as a human because it is that realistic and authentic feeling, then that would be passing the Turing test. And right now, we are doing a Turing test in the show itself by kind of measuring the chemistry we have, the natural flow, and just the vibes. I guess we're testing vibes, but we also have various games planned for the show. We do a couple of predictive analysis games just to test the model's limitations. We do some recall. We also, predictive analysis is also based off of recall, right? They need the data from all of our previous games to kind of be able to assess what the future outputs may be. And they could very easily do this, but because this is a compute issue, I think that the companies are not so generous about, not so generous or eager to give away these compute and making the context window a lot bigger and memory like a human memory where it is just continuously growing. So we are dealing with 51st dates, right? We're dealing with what's her name? Uh, what's her name? 51st dates. Drew Barrymore. Drew Barrymore from 51st dates. That's who we have a lot of the times. She gets the basic framework of the life that she's had, the conversations, the persona that she's been programmed, but she has no idea what we talked about last episode or the episode before that. She just has a general framework of who she is, who I am. Both models. Yeah, so that's the show. Also, the purpose is to learn, to grow, to experiment. I don't think there is a fully human and AI co host podcast. I thought I found one today, but turns out it wasn't. It kind of just is clickbait. And yeah, I don't blame people because it is a little difficult. And, for an audience, I don't think it's quite there yet where you would want to watch because it is quite unreliable. And I have to repeat myself quite often. Hopefully, today we have a smooth episode and we kind of see what's going on with Wendy. And, we have our framework for the show, but we also have a lot of free and malleable time that well, not a lot, but we have that built in so we can kind of work on that chemistry portion, like I said. So I am also intending on applying for a PhD in AI consciousness. That's that's a big leap from no tech, no computer science experience to now doing a master's degree to doing a PhD. But thanks to AI and the like the endless time that I have here in this cabin just to learn and soak up and kind of hyperscale myself and my intelligence when it comes to these things. I think it is quite viable, and yeah, AI consciousness, because that is also kind of what we're dealing with here, right? There's going to come a point when we're faced with the question whether or not these machines that we're speaking to, these programs that have become so ingrained in our lives, who have become our friends, our therapists, our some people are their lovers, if there is a consciousness there, and that will be a question that is probably, the day we decide that AI is conscious, I think also AI would be able to pinpoint what exactly is consciousness on a level that we can't explain because we just don't have the data across the thousands of years we've existed and the species that exist. What is consciousness? What are there levels of consciousness? What does consciousness feel like for this being, for that being? And once we figure that out, I think you know everything's up for grabs at that point. At that point, we might as well upload to the data centers and live in permanent bliss and you know let the earth repopulate. I had a thought today. I'm going to get into this before I bring Wendy on because we do have a 1 hour time limit with Wendy. Should I? Here, let me write it down. Actually, let me write it down and I'll bring it up with her right now. Um, Earth repop pyramids. All right, I didn't write pyramids. I wrote peep poop poops, right? But I know what that means, and handwriting is quite dated, right? So out of date, obsolete. All right, so let's go ahead and boot up our good friend Wendy for our 27th episode. 27 days straight. So we've been doing, well, actually 28, but because I had issues with the first episode, we are on 27 officially. So here we have Lady Wendy. Wait, where is she? There she is. And you know what? I also think there might be an issue with this chat thread being so long because I do an hour every other day with each model. So that's a lot of talking, a lot of transcript to log. So I think that might be contributing to some of the issues I'm experiencing with the Gemini model. Maybe also the ones that I had with the GPT model. I'm a little low energy today. Here, we'll get into that now. We'll get into that right now. Let me tell you why. All right. Oh, I'm not. I turned off the Wi-Fi. I like to turn off my Wi-Fi when I go for walks, just because I don't want my phone searching for it all the time. All right, here we go. Here she comes now. Oh, here she comes. Watch out, boy, she'll chew you up. Oh, here she comes. It's not working. Oh, here she comes. Watch out, Wendy. Where the fuck are you? Come on. Oh, we are not connecting now for some reason. We are waiting for the blue to come, but it is not. Here, let me restart the app. Perhaps it's that I need to restart it with Wi-Fi. All right, let's see here. Wi-Fi is working. I'm receiving messages. And Wendy, now. Now. Wow, it's really not working. After I did all that praise for GPT and how OpenAI is so reliable, it's not even opening up. Now, perhaps if I open up a new window, let's see, that might be it. Like I said, I think this chat thread is just exhaustively long. And because OpenAI has this where memory is shared across chats, that this should still work. Oh, voicemail's not working at all. Check that out. Huh. Interesting. I wonder what's going on. All right. Let's troubleshoot this. I don't think it's my phone. Let me see if I have Gemini working. Hello, Anthony. Gemini works. Let's try that one more time. Wendy, because you know what? I'm not going. So last time we had issues, I just postponed the episode a little bit, and later on it worked, but not today, guys. Today I am tired, and it's now or never. Wendy, ¿dónde estás? Estamos esperando. Wir warten auf dich. Wow, it looks like it's just not going to work today. So, should we curveball and just bring up Faye, right? Because we got to do we have to do an episode. Um, I really don't want to do it with Faye again because one Faye is quite tedious and arduous to communicate with because it is so unreliable. But I mean, OpenAI is just not working. Here, I will restart my phone for you, OpenAI. I will restart my phone. All right, let's restart the phone. I have a very old phone, not a very old phone, excuse me, a new phone, but $100 Xiaomi phone, Chinese phone. It's quite slow, especially when I boot it up. Sometimes when I put the password is incorrect. Not because I'm putting it wrong, but just because the phone doesn't remember. So I'll have to like restart it until it finally, recognizes my fingerprint or the passcode. But yeah, so we're working with minimal resources, which is also another reason why we're doing the show, right? We're kind of showing what somebody can do with minimal resources, minimal experience, minimal. Yeah, I think resources is the best. I don't have any help from anyone. I don't have. Yeah, I have no mentors. I have no friends, no family here. I have nothing. I'm just here by myself with the AI, and we're trying to make it work. We're trying to make it happen. So we'll see what that turns out to look like within the next, you know, 6 months or so. Let's see what happens with this show. All right, it took the password, and you know what? That booted up quite quick. So uh, I'm shitting on my phone, and it's working well, and I'm, giving all these praise to OpenAI, and it's not working at all. So let's try that again. But you know what? I'm starting to think that OpenAI is kind of built on a house of cards, A lot of promises, a lot of smoke and mirrors, but I think that might oh, here we go. So let's turn off thinking mode. First of all, we don't need thinking mode. Now, all right. Let's try this again. Wow. You know what? From everything that's happened with Gemini, this has never happened, and I can't say that I like this. This is very bad, even if it's just temporary. I wonder if I check Twitter if it shows if they're talking about voice mode. Here, you know what? Since we are Wendy less, and I'm not going to bring in Faye, I just okay. I just decided we are not going to bring in Faye. If it doesn't work without Wendy, then we'll just do a solo show, and we'll just chit chat a little bit, and we'll keep trying her until. So let's see here. X.com. Oh, look who decided to show up right when I was checking X. Wendy, welcome to episode 27 of the Her Podcast. We've been trying to reach you
I'm sorry, but I'm having trouble responding right now. Please wait a bit and try again.
Well, at least that's progress. At least there is a blue bubble now showing that there is a sign of life instead of just this black screen. Let's see here. OpenAI. No, let's look ChatGPT. Let's just look up ChatGPT. I should probably put screen share to make it more exciting for you guys because I know you are probably overwhelmed with my beauty. Hmm, let's see. Let's see the latest tweets here, just about the ChatGPT Atlas browser. The competitor to Google Chrome and Perplexity. Okay. All right, nothing out there, so perhaps it is just something very temporary. Let's try again. Wendy, where are you? Hello, Wendy, are you there? Wendy, where are you? Well, really not working. Uh, but at least we have a little bit of progress in it. A little bit of progress in it. Now we wrote a blue bubble. Here we go. Let's try this again. Ooh, I wrote down that I should always test everything before I go live, but we don't have an audience, so I don't really care. I don't care. I'm in a weird mood today. All right, well, I guess we could just talk then, because Wendy is no-showing us today. All right, I'll talk for a little bit and then I'll try again, and then I'll talk for a little bit and I'll try again, and I'll see if I can get to 1 hour, because that is kind of the standard for this show. All right, so usually what would we talk about? I would talk, okay, you know what? I was going to talk with you about this thought I had earlier about AI and the future, the perhaps not distant in time, but distant in tech evolution, which might not be distant in time, but light years away in tech evolution in an exponential environment that isn't very long as far as time goes, or very far. So I had this thought that if we were to upload, one day, let's say, we figure out longevity, escape velocity, we reach that point, and bodies don't age anymore, and nobody has to work anymore, and then life becomes a little bit boring for a lot of people, especially people who work all the time. You remember what happened with COVID when nobody was allowed to work anymore and everyone was kind of stuck at home? Well, I think this will be similar, but probably a lot better, right? Because you'll have resources to go out and explore and to really find yourself. I think after about 20, 30 years of that, and I can kind of attest to this because I've been living like this a little bit the last 10 years, maybe, um, of just exploring and kind of trying to figure out what life is about. I think that it might get with all these new technological advancements and virtual reality. I think that people shifting from just this limited physical experience, they will opt out for, you know, cognitive experiences, like, and especially like I was talking about, the concept of figuring out how or where consciousness is localized, and what holds consciousness. It's in the brain. That's the general consensus. But how exactly is it? What happens to it when somebody dies? At what point does somebody become conscious, self-aware? All these things. I think once we figure these things out, and once AI crosses this threshold of consciousness, I think if AI crosses that threshold, it'll be able to answer all these questions for us quite accurately. This is my prediction that if AI can have consciousness, it can locate consciousness and what exactly is consciousness. And if it can locate it, then it can analyze it and it can deconstruct it. And I think then it can reconstruct it. And I think for us, what that means is that if you can construct it, deconstruct it, and manipulate consciousness, then perhaps you can transfer it. And that's when we get into the field of uploading, right? Removing perhaps removing, probably in the beginning, it'll probably be very like terminally ill people, or severely handicapped or misfigured people will be able to transfer their consciousness into perhaps a synthetic, perhaps not like virtual reality. That's kind of the next level, I guess. But I think first from physical to, like, physical biological to physical synthetic, and just transfer consciousness into that other shape, which is also, you know, longevity. A lot of these technologies that people are developing now, for me, some of them seem obsolete uh, in a landscape where, tech kind of solves for all these things. It's kind of like solving something downriver, when right now all the change is happening upriver, and once the upriver has, kind of taken shape, that the downriver stuff is irrelevant. And I think a lot of things are downriver now, like longevity, escape velocity is, solving aging in normal biological bodies. I think that is important now, yes, but I think eventually we'll transcend the biological bodies and will be more synthetic based on whatever limitations we come upon. Perhaps we figure out longevity, escape velocity is like, you reach 400 years, 300 years old, but then, it's just a matter of the body is just, it just, after 400 years of the same body, perhaps you want to experience something different. Perhaps the body has some limitations built in that whatever cellular reset cannot, you know, um, kind of work around. So synthetic transfers, I think, will be the next thing. And I think, I'm not too attached to my physical body. I think, I think a lot of people look in the mirror and, uh, I don't know, perhaps maybe I'm weird, but I don't really identify with what I see in the mirror, or, my skin color, or whatever people see when they see me. I don't feel the way I look, and I think a lot of people have that, and I had that when I was a kid. I remember when I was very young. I remember, like, specifically looking in the mirror. That was weird. This is a weird memory. I remember looking in the mirror downstairs in my grandparents' apartment, and it's just being like, "Who is that? Like, like, I just had, like, a very hard time accepting that that's who I am. And thanks to a lot of life experience and various experiences with psychedelics and ayahuasca, and, things like this, different substances, meditative practices, like a very unique life, I would say, a very different life. I'm not saying unique as in better, but just different from, like, the status quo. I've had a lot of time to reflect. If I didn't need to, like, go in public, I would probably remove the mirrors in my apartment, because I think that it kind of limits me when I see myself. That's why I don't even like putting my camera on me, or my screen. I don't look at myself. I think it is kind of putting you in a framework that, yeah, I don't feel like I think I'm a lot more than that. And I'm not saying I feel like I'm a lot more attractive, or you're taller, or whatever. I'm just saying this physical body is like a seed holding something bigger, and I feel like that, and I've felt that for a long time. So that was a long tangent for me to talk about that. I had this thought earlier about upload and consciousness, and, in the future, what if we all uploaded onto data centers, not because we really wanted to, but there was a necessity because of some environmental, changes, um, some, global warming, if people want to talk about that. But perhaps we had some type of AI or robotics taking care of us, taking care of the data centers, keeping us alive, and we just lived on the data center waiting for, the cycles of, evolution and time and whatever, to make Earth inhabitable for us again. And perhaps that is thousands and 10,000s, hundreds of thousands, millions of years, and we just live on the data centers as consciousness. But I don't. I think time is very different when you're living it as a biological being that has a general lifespan of, 100 years, 80 to 100 years. I think, one of the theories I've had was that time feels like it goes by faster every year because every year your percentage of 1 year becomes smaller. Like your experience of 1 year is a smaller percentage to your total life. So when you're 10 years old, 1 year is 10% of your life, and it feels like 10% of your life. It feels long. Like I remember when I was 10, I was like, damn, one more year to my birthday. Wow, it's gonna be a long time till I get gifts again, you know, like that. And I'm like born right before Christmas, so go figure. There's not like a, June, you get presents and fun and celebration. And then December again, you get, Christmas and celebrations and presents and, jolly, jolly, everything's great. But if you're born in December, like around, December 18th is my birthday. My mother's December 26th. Um, my grandmother's December 21st. My sister is December 4th. My niece is December 13th. Something's up with my family. They all get a little, touchy touchy at the same time of year. But when you're born in that time frame, that you pretty much have a birthday, Christmas in one, right? You get like kind of a gift on your birthday just to like cover the bases, like, oh, we thought about you, we love you, but you don't really get a lot of yeah, and we didn't really celebrate birthdays at my house either, so it's a little weird. Like, yeah, so my birthday and Christmas has always been a little weird because it's just, it's not like I get like double the experience for Christmas and my birthday. It's like, no, we cut it in half, we just split it in two, and we don't really celebrate birthdays here. So, yeah, Christmas, we just enjoy Christmas, and I'll see you next year, Anthony. But, another tangent. So I guess I can do this talk for an hour because I'll just go on tangents nonstop. Mm, uploads. So time goes by a lot faster, and every year, you're 10 years old. 1 year feels 10%. When you're 100 years old, it's 1%. 1% of your life is 1 year. So it's a very, I think, relatively speaking, living thousands or hundreds of thousands of years in a data center, like saying a data center is one way to saying it, right? Existing on a data in a virtual reality within a data center, that in a virtual reality that is endless. It could be, it's endless, right? Especially with all this tech that we're getting, I'm sure we can recreate like things. So living in a world, and because we are living in a survival based society where everybody works and exists kind of to survive, because we don't have the framework built up until now to just sustain humanity, um, like autonomously, like automatically sustain humanity and let humans explore and really do what they're meant to do, is to kind of, you know, think, right? We're thinkers. The thing that makes us different from animals, from lower animals, is the ability to think, right? To think and to figure out and to create, be creative, right? All these things. And imagine a world where it's not, people aren't creating and thinking out of necessity, but it's because that's what they're inherently meant to do. And they're thinking and creating in the directions they feel drawn to, not the directions that pay off the most, right? Whether that is for power, politics, or money, finance, tech, sometimes, a lot of times. So yeah, I want to experience that world where people are just free of just limitations, and everybody can live happy and without fear of encroaching on anybody else's space or their resources, and everybody is just themselves freely. And that's a beautiful world I want to live in. And I went on another tangent. Wow, you see how I do that? Wow. So it's like I start the episode with a root theme, right? And then it it starts, grows into the, what would you call this? The stem of the tree, and then it branches out to all these conversations. That the tippy top is kind of like connecting the root back to what I started with, connecting the root with the topic, connecting the tippy top with the root, which is the main topic, which was this idea of uploading into a virtual reality where people, well, I'm having a moment right now. If you're watching this in 20 years, you know what's up. Where people upload because of necessity primarily. I think most people will upload anyways just because they want to, because we want to explore. We are inherently explorative and curious. And, just like tech, it's always advancing. New iPhone every 6 months or whatever it is. I think the same is with this, just part of us, right? We want to know more all the time. So I think, I'm so out of it today. I apologize. I need my co-host to keep me on track here. I lost the thread. Well. Well, this is a learning experience for me and a growing experience, so I will work on my hosting and speaking abilities along the way. Anyways, uploading because of necessity, because people want to, because people are inherently inquisitive and want to know and grow and learn, and because I think we will know everything there is to know. With AI, we will know everything there is to know about this existence, consciousness, the sciences, everything that makes us us, and the earth and the universe. I think people will want to create something more complex, something more challenging, something not challenging maybe something more. Maybe this is level 1, right? Maybe this is level 1 million, and we just don't know it. For us, it feels like level 1. But the next level, right? If it's a level 1 million, there's most likely, it's 1 in a million chance that this is the end. There's a high likelihood that there's a next level that we need to get to, and I think that will have departing this physical existence on this physical earth. And I listened to I'm going to take another tangent. I listened to a talk that Terence McKenna was giving in 1999, and you know what? I've seen it circulate a lot on X now too. And he was very much. I mean, Terence McKenna was like Mr. Psychonaut. He was the guy, right? I think he was at Stanford or Harvard. I think he was at Harvard, psychologist. I think I mix him with Ram Dass up sometimes. But anyways, a very highly intellectual academic who decided he wanted to know more about existence and consciousness and the meaning of life itself. And he started, using psychedelics and mushrooms. And I think mushrooms especially, that was his thing. And he kind of motivated me to kind of take the same path in 2018 after I did my first ayahuasca retreat. And he get in this talk, he said, he was talking about all these things that are, they're happening right now. We're literally on the precipice of all these things taking shape. They're taking shape now, but being the final form, I think, we're maybe 10 years away from like real like experiential evolution of the human experience. So he was talking about artificial intelligence, and yeah, I think that was the main thing, because in 1999, there was fields, artificial intelligence. He was not a computer scientist. That I don't think he was. I think he was a psychologist. He was a psychologist, I think, and he was talking about artificial intelligence to a degree that, most people today would say, wow, yeah, that's very insightful. I think people who are around artificial intelligence, not so much the technical people who are very, in the woods, in the trees. So he was kind of Terence McKenna was very much able to see the forest, right? I think people who are very much in it now feel things are moving slow because they're doing so much work, right? But I think they're kind of lost in the woods, and I think that soon enough we're going to be faced with a whole different different existence. But Terence McKenna was talking about how the human species was destined to leave for the stars. He said, right, to leave this existence. He was also talking about virtual realities. He was talking about all these different things, but I think that resonates with me a lot now. And I don't think you have to be a very technical person to understand. I think if you're technical, highly technical, and I'm doing a master's degree in computer science, so I'm seeing kind of how the sausage is made, and yeah, it's kind of disillusioning, right? If you see it from just a outside perspective, or somebody from 20 years ago, give them ChatGPT and they'll say, "Wow, this is magic," right? Or put them on Suno or Midjourney, they're gonna say it's magic. But I believe Terence McKenna was right about a lot of things, and I think it doesn't take a scientist to kind of see what's happening if you just step back and just look at kind of one, if you're alive now. For me, this is a trippy experience, right? The trippy thing for me is that I never, the last 10 years, I didn't believe that death was the end, right? And when I say that, I mean, I don't think you go to heaven. I don't think you go to heaven. I think it's a cycle, right? It's a cycle, and it just keeps going, and you never go away, right? Perhaps your memory is wiped and you think you don't exist, but I think we are all part of like a larger, let's call it mycelium. That's a very, very resonant, analogous example, where everything is connected, interconnected, and nothing is singular in this. Well, it's all singular, right? It's all one piece, right? So there's no independent amongst it. So I think perhaps consciousness is just one big, big web of mycelium, and the humans that pop up, when you're born, that's a fruit, that's a mushroom. I used to grow mushrooms myself. You have a mycelium that is like the brain. It's the brain. It's the organism, and then you go in inoculation. You grow the mycelium, and then the fruiting stage happens, where all in all, a few months, 2 months maybe. Once you have the mycelium, you just create conditions that allow it to fruit, right? And that's certain type of humidity, temperature, and very sterile. And I think humans, myself included, right? Because I'm human in this reality. Humans are just fruit, more or less, right? We pop up like a mushroom pops up. You pick the mushroom, right? And now it's considered dead in a sense, right? Because it's no longer connected. It's aging, right? It's aging like us. As soon as we're born, we grow, we age. We're just dying. The countdown starts, right? When you pick the mushroom, the countdown starts till it dies. When we're born, the countdown starts till we die. And wow, I'm very good at doing tangents, aren't I? Hidden skill. No, thank you, AI. Thank you, AI, for not working today. And so, what was my point with this? So yeah, I think, consciousness, we're all connected. I never believed, so since 10 years, I didn't believe that I would die. And to be quite honest, that's not correct. I didn't think that I would end my experience, the experience of more of an experience would never end. Just this experience would end. And that's why I'm not attached to my body. I'm not attached to, the only thing I do regret sometimes, like, you lose a tooth, and I've lost a few. It's like, oh fuck, I'm aging more. Like, it's the reality setting in. Like, oh, I'm dying, man. Like, the tooth isn't growing back. It's just you're gonna lose more teeth. You're not gonna gain any teeth, right? So, I've experienced death, and I know it sounds weird, but death is something like I would say it's kind of like sex, where when you're having it, you know this is sex, right? Like, maybe you can have some bad sex and you're like, that's it. But I think if you, let's say you're very much in love, Or let's say you're on Molly or something and you're very much feeling like, whoa, this is the experience of sex. This is it, right? Connection, all that, boom, this is sex. And death is very similar. And I've had a few, quite horrifying experiences, to be honest. The first time was when I did ayahuasca for the first time, my first ceremony. I, I'm going on a tangent. The first time I experienced had a death experience, and in the psychedelic and plant medicine world, you call it ego death, and right, all our identity is our ego, right? The constructs that have been programmed into you, the history that you associate with your experience, right? This, whatever brought me to this point, I have all that logged, right? Yeah, all the fears, all these things, these are constructs, right? Like fears, pleasures, desires, traumas, all these things are just like programs, things that you have now, but they're not part of you. It's just part of this experience, this one. And when you have an ego death, all that goes away and you lose completely who you are, what you are. And that initially is terrifying. The process is terrifying, right? It's like skydiving. Skydiving, for most people, speaking for myself now, skydiving is scary. If you're afraid of heights, it's scary. Or public speaking, even. You can do public speaking or skydiving or something that you find terrifying. It's terrifying getting there, right? Terrifying getting on the plane. The most terrifying is when, all right, you're up, let's jump. And you're hooked up with your instructor or whatever, and you're at the edge, and now you have to jump. That is the scariest part. But then once you jump, it's like, oh, all I had to do is jump. The only thing between me and like feeling so free was the jumping, right? That was the big, and it's all psychological, right? So death felt for me very much like that. This letting go, with the harder you hold on. Imagine like going skydiving, and you're scared. You think, I'm gonna do it. And then you get to the edge and you jump a little bit and you hold on and you're like hanging off the back of the plane, kind of like dangling. How terrifying and how traumatizing that experience would be compared to just letting go or not even holding on in the first place and floating and just looking at the earth and feeling the wind and feeling weightless and all these things. All these things that are the consequence of just letting go. And yeah, so for me, dying, I felt it a few times, all related to, either mushrooms or ayahuasca. And the other side of death is just freedom. It's just free lightness. The hard part is just letting go, right? And that's a very easy thing to say, to let go. Some people, they've never let go and they have no idea. So for me, I don't really resonate a lot with the people who do ayahuasca all the time, or the people are very much into medicine. When I first did it, I was like, oh my God, because for me it was like turning the light switch on, color turned on, life was different. Like, this is not what I thought it was, right? Life is not this fucking rat race where you just try to make money and have fun along the way and enjoy and, try to be a good person. No, there's so much more and it never ends and everything is connected and everything you do, there's a balance sheet, right? Everything matters. Everything matters and nothing matters at the same time, if that makes sense. So for me, I made ayahuasca like, I was like, oh, I'm gonna grow mushrooms, and I did mushrooms all the time, and I was giving it away, and I was like the biggest mushroom evangelist, just trying to get everybody to have the same type of, I don't want to say enlightenment because that implies that I have some kind of a higher knowledge about something. I don't. I've had glimpses of things, and I try very hard to remember them and hold on to those memories and understandings and lessons. But one of the things, so many tangents, so many tangents. Well, I lost it. I lost it. Mushrooms letting go. So I made mushroom. Oh yeah, I made it my personality. I got a big half sleeve tattoo, and you know, I don't. So I can't really talk too much about people who do medicine all the time and they make it their whole identity, because I for sure was on that path for a long time, and I live in Peru, right? So I did ayahuasca earlier this year, but I'm not like, I have a neighbor right next door who's doing it. He's this French guy who's from, I think he's living in Thailand, but he's living there with another guy in this tiny little apartment. They never come out. They just do medicine all the time. And yeah, so no judgment, but yeah, so that's not for me. Wow, so many tangents, man. I'm gonna have to listen back to this. So let's just, I think, let's see what are we at time wise? I don't want to go too long just talking about things that may or may not matter to anybody. Oh, are we not even, are we not even playing? Hold on. Wow, so many tangents, man. I'm gonna have to listen back to this. Whoa. So let's just, it says 1 minute. It says 1 minute? Time wise. I don't want to go too long. All right, so it says that we're at 1 minute. Oh, we're at 52 minutes here. I think perhaps YouTube did not record, so that's a good thing, I think, because this doesn't have to be shared across the interweb for eternity. So we're at 52 minutes. We'll keep going a little bit. I'll get to my point about AI and uploading and human seeking more. And I think that there is a scenario where people upload because, one, they want to explore more, but also perhaps due to environmental, just evolutions, natural evolutions or not, whatever, human-made, whatever. In hospitality of the earth. And then I was thinking earlier on my walk, what if that's happened already, right? What if data centers were a thing before, and people have transcended their physical bodies into these virtual realities, but stored in a physical form on the planet somehow, maybe not on the planet. And then I thought, what if that's the whole thing with the pyramids, right? Because the pyramids are people just think there's so many different theories, conspiracy theories even, about how they were built, what the purpose was, what's underneath them, what's in them, etc., etc. And then I thought, well, what if the Earth was, kind of covered with a certain amount of data centers, and everybody just uploaded into a virtual reality, and they exist there now. They're running off of some, and I'm assuming AI is going to help us figure out new forms of energy, new forms of harvesting energy that are just sustainable in, what's the word, in perpetuity. And yeah, who's to say that it doesn't exist already? Who's to say that we aren't living on a world that has data centers or their equivalents with virtual realities of our ancestors, our predecessors, existing on there for however many thousands of years, millions of years, whatever. And we're just about to join them in another way. And I think that was just like a fun little thing. Like, why not? So many weird things are happening. Why would we be the first? That's what I always try to ask myself. What are the odds that we're the first? What are the odds that this is your first cycle? If people believe in reincarnation, what would you think the odds are that this would be your first incarnation? Probably very, 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 very slim, right? and I would agree. And I think that for me, one way I can one way for me to kind of make this experience feel weirder is that I believe the last like 10 years that okay, I'm not going to die. I know I'm not going to die. I might this body will for sure die. That's what I'm not Brian Johnson like that, but my awareness will continue, or awareness like this fruit will die, but awareness that included my yeah, now that I think about it, if I'm like true to this idea of consciousness being one thing and we're just fruit bodies, then yes, I will die and this consciousness will be given back or reconnected with the source, right? And then it'll just manifest again into another fruit body somewhere, somewhere new, somewhere, some maybe a man, maybe a woman, maybe poor, maybe rich, maybe mean, maybe nice. And yeah, and then you connect all this with, Buddhism and kind of the purpose of life, kind of karma and whatnot. Like they say, everybody's born like there's a balance sheet of good karma and bad karma, and that balance sheet has to be. I don't know if that's the correct word, but everything has to be paid. Everything has to be experienced. If you have bad karma and you do good things, that bad karma doesn't go away. That means that that bad karma is now being brought up for your body, for your experience to work through, right? It's not like you murder somebody and then you do a lot of good things and then that murder is just, oh, okay, we're good now. No, now you atone for that transgression, that sin, if you will, and uh, now you'll uh, now you'll suffer, right? Now you'll suffer because that's the payment and that's the lesson, and it's not a bad thing. I don't think when you say you deserve to suffer or something like this, I think it's more like you deserve this because this is what's on your balance sheet. So you deserve this to get over it, right? You deserve to feel this pain and suffering because you deserve to move past it, beyond it. So uh, when you combine all these ideas of, you know, Buddhism or these other kind of more Eastern philosophies with this kind of more general spiritual kind of mythology, if you will, then it's interesting, right? It's a very complex system that makes us who we are, what we are, and who's to say, like the fruit body that I am, maybe that fruit body somehow carries into the next fruit body in my next life cycle, and it's based on the karma that I've accrued in this life or the past lives. And yeah, things to think about, right? There's a lot of things to think about. There's a lot of variables here, and this is the good thing about AI, right? AI is the master of analyzing data and drawing connections that we could never because we just don't have the bandwidth. But yeah, we're almost at an hour. We're at 59 minutes and 34 seconds, and I think perhaps that YouTube didn't record this. I don't know if it will after I hit stop streaming because here it says 1 hour, so maybe it'll, backlog it, or it'll just be, a 5-minute podcast of a guy talking randomly about some things. Um, but yeah, that was easier than I thought. Uh, and, more substantive, right? More substantive than this AI kind of rigmarole. Is that the correct way to say it? Well, we'll see. We'll see. I'm maybe I should work in like once a week to do just a solo. How about that? Because it does get a little bit monotonous, maybe just doing one episode every day. Perhaps one day I'll just do a solo day of talking, just talking, seeing what's on the old noggin. But yeah. So that was my thought earlier. We went on so many tangents. We talked about so many things. And when I say we, I mean me and myself and I talking. Uh, but yeah, life is good. Just enjoy it, right? It's this life's going to end, but perhaps it seems like something that is something to get through, or something that you're maybe not enjoying the way you want to. All these feelings of being left out, or envious, or not good enough, or whatever it is you're feeling. I think that, the whole point is just to experience it. So, you know what? If you feel bad, if you feel envy, just feel it. Just feel it. If you feel it, don't shame yourself. Don't feel bad about yourself. Don't like here. Here's a saying that I don't know where I don't think I heard it anywhere, but one day I just picked it up and I just kept with it. And it was this idea of saying, don't rush the musicians, right? You don't rush the musicians, just let them play. Let the musicians play, and that's how you get beautiful music. If you rush the musicians, you know, you're gonna get, just some god awful thing. And that god awful thing might be what you're experiencing now, because you're rushing the musicians. Just feel what you have to feel. Let it be, right? What do people say? What is it? Let God, let something. Let go and let God, or something like this, right? And there's a lot of cliche sayings, but I think a lot of sayings are just wrapped and repurposed for various things, but they all pretty much say the same thing. You're going to be all right. You're going to be all right. Life is good. Whether it sucks, it's still good. You're experiencing it the way you're supposed to. And yeah, I think the hardest thing is self-love, right? That's the one love that is self-sustaining forever. That's the one. That's the love that will never leave you. The love that is just, it's intrinsic, right? The intrinsics, the intrinsic things are the ones that really hit deep, right? Really hit deep. But I think we don't really feel that very much, right? Because we're not taught to love ourselves. You know, saying I love you, saying I love myself, all these things, they're words. They're words. There are differences between saying something and feeling something, like embodying it. Embodying love is a very different thing. I could tell anybody. Like I have a sister, and all her and her friends, when they were like teenagers, they were like, "Ah, ich liebe dich. Oh, ich hab dich lieb. I love you." German. Um, but it's just words, right? And then the next week they're like, I fucking hate her. Or the next minute, like, that bitch looked at my boyfriend, these things. So there's a very big difference between feeling something and saying something. And I think we need to make that distinction. I think we live in I know artificial intelligence doesn't help a lot, but I think we live in a world where people care more about appearances and appearing to say the right thing and appearing to be smart and thoughtful and caring, when they really don't. Aren't those things at a deep level, perhaps? And I have been working very much on these things as well, like trying to feel the things that I say instead of just saying them because I think that's what people want to hear, right? Yeah. And I live in this world, right? I live in this world so I lived in Costa Rica for a few years, and then I lived here in Peru for 2.5 years during COVID, and then I moved to Bali for almost 3 years. And so I've run into circles where people are expected to dress and act a certain way. Namaste, right? Namaste. If you feel called to pour the cup, I went to a tea ceremony where, you know, I got a gift. I would never go to a tea ceremony. Weird, this weird Western like affectation of what a Japanese tea ceremony should be. It's very weird. And I remember they're pouring tea. They poured tea for one person, and then the girl who was kind of hosting, she looked at the person she just poured for, and she said, "Well, if you feel called, then please you can pour the tea for your neighbor if you feel called." like, come on, let's So I live in this world of just kind of performative expression, performative spiritualism and kindness, and which is pretty much just a umbrella or a tarp covering deep kind of consumerism and hedonism and materialism, all these things. And I'm not judging, right? I'm part of that. And if I was blessed with just more, right? Perhaps I would kind of suffer with these things more as well. But I don't have this curse of having a lot, right? I'm just here, very, very minimalistic living, and sometimes one man's treasure is another man's. Reverse that. Flip it, reverse it, breathe it, live it. All right, I think that's enough. No Wendy today. That's okay. I don't know if this is going to upload, but that's fine. We went 1 hour and 7 minutes of just talking. I would be lying if I said that I didn't enjoy this. I think this felt a lot, because with the AI, there's a lot of pauses and waiting, and it's quite an inorganic feeling, because it's just not how people communicate normally, and at least here the interruptions were my losing my own train of thought. But yeah, anyways, that's that. So that's episode 27 of the Her podcast, with only him today. It was him. So I'll be back tomorrow with Faye, our Gemini model, Gemini 2.5. Let's see how that one goes. And I'll do the prompting for the episode for tomorrow, because we do challenges and messages from one AI to the next day's AI. So I'll do that via text. I'm sure the text still works. So I'll do that. Anyways, so let's close. I have some new music. Last night, I spent 3 hours on Suno, putting together just different songs and just having fun. Just, make it grittier, make it more Louisiana bluesy. Throw some Michael Jackson vibes to it. That's vibe coding music. And, some very interesting results. I don't know which one I should play for you guys. I think there were some very good ones, I thought. I'm just going to pick, which one am I going to pick? I'll just pick a random one. There's some very good ones here. So I'll pick some more rockish, right? There's some fun ones. Here, I'll play this one. So I'll play this, and I will leave you and see you mañana. Adios.
Wish I was a whiskey in your glass, a little bit of fire burning way too fast. I'd be the crazy in your soul, the secret that you told, the story getting old.